Good afternoon, class. Using this week's database, ProQuest Historical Newspapers, I change topic course a little bit from my usual posts to that of German Americans in the United States during World War I and World War II. The articles from the World War I period were printed by the Washington Post in 1918. One was an overview of a Senate subcommittee investigation that had been conducted in an organization called the German American Alliance, in the fact that they had collected nearly $1 million from donors since 1914 that was supposed to have been collected for war aid, but there's no real trace of where that money went. One of the people in charge of receiving that money was the ambassador from Germany, ambassador to the United States from Germany, who served from 1908 to 1917, a count named John Heinrich Bernstoff. There's no real way for them to know. So the Senate subcommittee and the Washington Post both conclude that this money was used to further pro-German propaganda in the United States and other activities that were pro-German in order to sway American sentiment towards the German side during that period. The other article is a 1918 article that was actually one written by Theodore Roosevelt, and he was trying to bolster support and pride for German Americans, those that had met the call to go serve in the war to fight against the tyranny of Germany, urging Americans to have pride in the loyalty of the German Americans that were helping the American cause. For World War II, a couple of articles. One was called "The Indignation in the United States." It was printed in the Manchester Guardian in 1933, and it just kind of overviewed and outlined a few events that were going on at the time. A lot of outpouring of concern in telegrams to the president, a New York meeting of Orthodox Jews that was going to take place at Madison Square Garden, that they also mentioned was going to be supported and attended by a lot of non-Jewish people as well. And Jewish veterans of the Great War that had a parade in New York City against Nazi activities in Germany, all to kind of outline the indignation against the oppressive acts of the Hitler dictatorship that were flaming up in the United States. The last article was printed in 1934 by the New York Times called "Germans Here Ask for a Place in Politics." They covered a meeting or a rally of about 12,000 people that gathered at Madison Square Garden that was supported by an organization called United German Societies of Greater New York. The description of this meeting brings those images of newsreels and photographs of Nazi rallies being held in Germany, thousands of uniformed guards protecting the stage, men and women dressed in very, what you would assume were Nazi type uniforms, clothing, very organized, a podium in the middle of a stage set up in front of a bunch of US and Nazi flags. A letter was sent by the president at the time and really reiterates some of what had been mentioned in Theodore Roosevelt's letter in 1914, praising the German American support in the United States and helping build the nation and support it throughout its many wars and periods, and help to create an economically strong nation ultimately, that they share a heritage with the German American people. The following speaker that they discuss in that article was a Dr. Hans Borchers of the German Consul General in New York, who spoke with a lot less gratitude towards the United States. Again, they're looking to have more German American participation in the political movements of the United States, placement within the federal government. They feel that they're just not being heard. And the same breath, this speaker also praises Adolf Hitler for creating Germany for the people, by the people, and of the people. At the end of his speech, requesting 3 Heils for Adolf Hitler and for the President of the United States, all while criticizing the enemies of the United States, which he never outright names or puts any face to. So again, this is a topic that I find very interesting, and it's one that I hope to do research on in the future, not for my dissertation, but for just a future research project. I hope I was able to present a couple of good examples of what was occurring in the United States and what was being published in newspapers during this time regarding German Americans and the activities that were going on during the two world wars. Thank you, and I look forward to your feedback.